potential customer. So the idea of segmenting the market, of setting some priorities in terms of target audiences, in terms of figuring out where the low-hanging fruit is versus the fruit where I can make some decent profits or decent margins. Understanding in terms of my revenue model that the margins I make on my widgets are not nearly as big as the margins I make on my gadgets, so I need to sell more gadgets or use my widgets to sell more gadgets. Understanding the difference between margin and volume on the different things I'm selling. And so we spent a fair amount of time distinguishing high, medium, and low margin businesses and high, medium, and low. So how's a jewelry store make money? Jewelry store. Well, their margins are 200, 300, 400% on a diamond ring, but they don't sell a lot of diamond rings each week, right? So it's a low volume, high margin business. And how's a grocery store make money? The margins are incredibly small, but they sell a lot of volume. Well, getting these entrepreneurs to get a sense of, am I relatively low margin, medium margin, or high margin, am I relatively low volume? And so what do we end up with? I mean, you can make money at low margin, high volume. You can make money at low volume, high margin. You can make money at medium, medium. You can make a ton of money at high, high, but you'd be stunned at how many of these businesses are low margin businesses with low volumes. And they just signed a lease because they felt like they had to rent space. And so their fixed costs are meaningfully high, and there ain't no money to be made in this business the way they're doing it. So getting the business model right, and then a whole ton of operational issues, whether that's registering the business or understanding how to use social media, and the mindset that dominates is that marketing is free, and that I can just get it all done with social media, and as you know, that's just not the case. And so these practical kind of issues here that are operational. So I'd start with that in terms of three categories, and where is this entrepreneur at right now, and what can I do in the time I have, which leads to set ground rules in these relationships. And so I would start with a time horizon. So my commitment to mentor you is whatever it is. So our program in South Bend, it's a 5-month commitment. Now, if the mentors want to continue beyond 5, that's fine, but it's a 5-month commitment, right? So that sets a parameter. The early conversations are all, okay, let's agree on where your business will be in 5 months. What can we do in a mentoring relationship in 5 months? So I'm not trying to solve your problems 2 years from now. I'm not trying to deal with, okay, we put some boundaries on this. Over the next 5 months, you will have a website up and running. You'll have made your first B2B sale. You'll have premises. You'll have a working bookkeeping system in place. You'll have whatever it is, but if it's not tangible like that, and so the issue of priorities and this, if it's all loosey-goosey and we'll just have meetings and we'll talk each time versus I'm committing to 5 months, and over 5 months you and I will mutually agree on what we're going to achieve, where your business will be in 5 months. I think it helps to start with, why am I here? Let's agree on what the purpose of the mentoring is, and there may be different purposes. So, you have mentors who give homework assignments to the mentee, which may or may not be appropriate. It just depends on the individual relationship and your mentoring approach and how hands-on or how non-hands-off it is. What you can't do is say, okay, good to meet you, now go write a business plan and get back to me once the business plan is written, and we'll continue the conversation. So agree on a purpose of the mentoring relationship. And when you're talking purpose, it helps to talk boundaries. So it helps to make it clear, I'm not here to invest in your business, because some of these folks may expect that. I'm here to help you in every way, but I'm not here to invest in your business. And boundaries on the other side too. So, you know, there are areas it may be inappropriate for you to start talking about their families and their personal worlds and those kind of things. If it's appropriate, it's appropriate, but that may be a boundary you want to establish. No, we're here to talk about business or whatever it is. But I think you have to establish early on that it's a 50-50 relationship. Mentoring works when you understand there's a beginning and a middle and an end. And you have a mental picture of what that beginning, middle, and it'll change, it'll evolve, but it has to be a relationship, and relationships, as you know, only work if both parties invest in them. And so you need to mutually make that commitment to it being a relationship, one that will evolve. The reality is, I don't care how successful you are, you don't necessarily have credibility in the mentee's eyes. Notre Dame has no credibility in the poverty community. I mean, as a football power, maybe, but as a university that's doing anything for them. So we constantly have to establish our own credibility, and credibility comes from your ability to empathize, walk in their shoes, and speak the language that is meaningful to them. Agree on the meeting frequencies, agree on if something has to be canceled, that this is how we're going to handle it, rather than the person just didn't show up, which happens more than you might expect. The medium for the meetings, as I said, the priorities, but establish some ground rules. Don't just do it happenstance, or let's just go with how it feels, or let's just so what doesn't work though is coming from the angle of, well, here's what's wrong with you. You're not motivated enough. You're not spending enough time on the business. You're not. You just have to eliminate that from the conversation. I think there are more positive ways to get at the deficiencies on the side of the entrepreneur, and there will be significant deficiencies on the side of the entrepreneur. As I said, we're not in the idea killing business, so I don't care how much you think their idea sucks. The creative in you can find a way to make money from that thing, or at least adapt it and adjust it without completely abandoning it, at least up front, and move it to something that they're comfortable with, that they endorse. You know, and whose ideas do we tend to all like the most? Our own, right? So the best ideas you have, you need to present in a way that it was their idea. Get past the ego thing, it was their idea. Even if it wasn't their idea, it was their idea. And they will buy more into the advice than, you know, the other way around. I've talked about the business plan or nothing. Business plans are important. They bring a discipline to the thinking of the entrepreneur. They can show that the business can't make money. They can do a lot of things. But I just wouldn't make that the be-all, end-all. Until you get the business plan done, we're not going to talk about anything else. My advice is run, move, take action, do things, and try to get that business plan done. I'll try to help you with it, but let's not use that as a reason not to act. And by acting, you start learning and adjusting and adapting. And I talked about the money thing. It is an issue, it is a big issue, but there are a hell of a lot of creative ways to leverage resources, to use other people's resources, to beg, borrow, barter, do whatever you have to do to tap into the resource. And that's my story. So do you have questions, comments, or feel free to disagree with anything I said?
you tell us your experience with entrepreneurs and their willingness to meet regularly with a mentor? How defensive do they get? What, tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
what can we expect from our entrepreneurs? We notice some of our mentors say, well, they don't always get back to me. They don't always answer or not.
20% of the entrepreneurs that we mentor, the relationship is brilliant. And the mentors are like, this has been such a fulfilling thing for me, and this is great, and I've, the 80%, it's not so much, and they're all different. But part of the problem is, none of you got a degree in college in mentoring. None of you probably have ever had a course in mentoring. And so you kind of, and every mentor mentors in a different way, has their own style, has their own approach. And so part of the problem is when people are honest, they'll go, well, I know a lot about business. And I've lived a lot, so I know a lot about people. But I don't know jack about how to mentor. So you're trying to figure it out, right? Figure out what works for you and what works for you with this person may not work with this person. So the challenge first and foremost is that, but secondly, the mentees don't know how to be mentees. They don't know how to talk to you, they don't know how to get help, and so they quickly will conclude, this guy has something to offer me or this guy doesn't. And if they quickly conclude this guy doesn't, or this person's too intimidating or whatever, they won't show up, they won't work on anything, and that happens a fair amount. The mentoring is dependent on 3 pieces. Piece 1, it's dependent on the quality of you guys. And so let's say we solve that. Let's say you're all brilliant mentors, okay? Piece 2, the assignment of the mentor to the mentee. That is, there's no science there. It's mostly art. And so even with a great mentor assigned to the wrong person, it can be problematic. And then part 3 is the behavior of the mentee. And with these entrepreneurs, with the fact that they tend to be struggling in other parts of their life and working 1 or more jobs, and all the problems I talked about early on, it can be frustrating. I mean, that's the bottom line. Other comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
Where in the business cycle are mentees usually kind of brought into the program?
Yeah, I'm not sure what Patrick has in mind here, but our experience is that these entrepreneurs fall into, so a program in South Bend, we take 70 folks in a year, and that drops off as we go. In terms of how many finish the training, how many do the mentoring, how many get the consulting. But they fall into 3 categories. Category 1 are people at the idea stage, and what they've done in researching or prepping that idea varies considerably. Category 3 are people who have started a business, but they just can't get traction. They're really struggling. The interesting category is the middle category. And the middle category is people that are doing something, but they got no business. So the bib lady makes bibs. She gives them to her family and friends. She even has gone to the farmer's market and sold